Hey guys, so I know with the way the world has been lately, a lot of us have been doing remote collabs instead of in person collabs. And so I figured today what I would talk about is a tool that I think is really helpful when you're managing your collaborations. Okay, so today's video is actually sponsored by friends of the channel DistroKid. They've been really supportive of this channel recently, and I feel very, very, very lucky to be able to team up with a company that has products that I actually believe in order to keep this channel healthy and afloat. So I personally think that DistroKid is one of the easiest ways for musicians to get their music onto a whole range of streaming platforms. So, Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, the whole gamut. And it's really easy to use, and they never take a cut of your earnings, which I think is amazing. But other than that, I have done a video on DistroKid before. So instead of talking about that in more depth, what I'm going to do instead is link to that video in the cards at the top of the screen, and you guys can go check that out if you want to. So what I actually wanted to do today is go into a bit of a deep dive on using the Teams function in DistroKid. So basically what Teams does is it allows you to really easily pay out your collaborators. So that's, without hiring an accountant or having to be part of a big fancy team that has accountants and a payroll department and all that jazz. So, I think it's a great option for most of us that are out there creating. So, the collaborative freelance music creators and entrepreneurs that are really hacking it in the music industry. So I was checking out the Teams function, and there are actually some really useful details that I figured I should point out to you guys. So I figure maybe knowing about this tool can really help some of you that are out there managing your collaborations. And before we start here, I wanted to really quickly point out that I have the Musicians Plus DistroKid plan. And so I have some features on here that aren't available on the basic musician plan. But I think the differences are really on the upload form side of things, and it's not on the Teams function, because I know that if you have any kind of plan on DistroKid, you will have access to this Teams function. But other than that, if you're curious about the differences between the plans, you can always go to distrokid.com/plan to check out those differences. All right, so all I've done so far is gone to distrokid.com, and then I've hit the Teams option here on this main menu of the website. And I'm going to select this option here. This is one of my releases. It was just done as an exercise, so it was all me working on the project. So I have the right to share this with a YouTube video. So that's why I've selected this option, even though there's no split here, but you'll be able to see how it works anyway. So I'm going to hit next here. And it's a pretty simple interface here. So you can see it's a pretty simple site. It's easy to navigate, easy to understand. I feel like it's easy to understand at least. But you can add a new team member here by clicking here, and you can change the split percentage by clicking here. It's pretty simple. So, when you're deciding if or when to add a collaborator onto a track, it's really good to know that with DistroKid, you can add an unlimited number of people onto any track, and you can also add or remove collaborators from a track at any given time. So there's a ton of flexibility. And, if you're like me, then you might have worked on projects that involved whole teams of people to create content. So whether that's from a huge band with a ton of full members, so not just session musicians necessarily, but actual full members of the band, or it could be all the way to something like an electronic track where maybe there are people that are focusing on just the structure of the track. There might be people that are focusing just on creating sound design elements for the track. There might be people that are focusing just on creating vocal elements for the track. There's a whole range of situations where you might have a ton of people working on a project, and you might have people coming and going. There might be some flexibility that you would want in this type of a system. So basically, the idea is, that's a really long way to say that, the idea is that when we get into these situations where we have a bunch of people that are creatively contributing to something, it's really, really nice to know that our payment system is not what's going to be limiting us in terms of who gets a cut, right? So it's going to be us. We're going to be the ones that are deciding, and not our actual system. And one thing that I've learned working with musicians is that things can change very quickly as you work on a project, and things can change very frequently through a project. So it's good to know that with this split, you can change it at any given time. So there's a lot of flexibility. You don't have to stick to the split that you chose initially. You can change that as you go, as things are nailed down and figured out in more detail. And I think that's a good thing because people will change how they feel as a project progresses. They'll change how involved they want to be as a project progresses. And very often how things were at one point in the project is very, very, very different from how things will end up in that same project. So, I think being able to change how the money is split up really allows for this extra flexibility that is really beneficial for us as content creators, as musicians, as producers, as whatever we are in the process, right? So basically, it's back to the idea that the system shouldn't be what's limiting us. And DistroKid, they seem to really understand that because they made the teams function very flexible with this type of stuff. So I really like how we can really easily change things as we see fit. And just in case you're worrying about how easy it is to change up the splits and how that could be a negative thing, right? Just so you know, you can actually go back in time and see any previous splits. So there's transparency there. So for example, one person cannot just change things without everyone else knowing because there's actually this easily accessible evidence that's on the website. And along the same lines, collaborators can only see what percentage they're receiving. So I think that's probably a good thing, for privacy reasons. But basically, collaborators cannot see who your other collaborators are, and they cannot see what percentage other people are receiving. So basically, the only drawback that I see here is that your collaborators do need to have a DistroKid account in order to get paid through their system, which it makes sense, right? That shouldn't be too surprising to any of us. But I know it can be tough to convince people to get an account, especially if it's for a service that they're not already using. But I think maybe nowadays, I know a ton of people are using DistroKid, like a lot more people are using DistroKid nowadays. So maybe that's not much of an issue. But either way, DistroKid has worked pretty hard and put some pretty good stuff into place so that is not as much of an issue as you might think. So for example, you can invite your collaborators onto the site, and if they don't already have an account, then they can really easily create one for just $10, which I think that's a really good deal. I don't think $10 is bad at all, especially if you remember that DistroKid actually works through that flat yearly rate. So remember, they don't take a cut of your earnings ever. So you and your collaborators will get 100% of your earnings. They're just taking that flat yearly rate, and that's what they're working off of. And one concern that I had when I first heard about the service is what happens, for example, if your collaborator is really slow to join the site. So I think it's great to know that DistroKid will never delay your song release because your collaborator has not yet joined the site. So your song release will never be delayed because of someone else being slow. And I think that's great. So what DistroKid does instead is they will hold the money for your collaborator until they join. And I feel like that's really bougie. I don't know why. I feel like that's a really bougie thing for them to do. I guess I just didn't expect like that detail of service from a website, but here they are, then that's what they do. So I think that's pretty cool. And you don't have to worry about what to do if they never join and you are having DistroKid hold their money for them, because basically at any given point, you can always sign into this team's account and you can reallocate their funds and their percentage to someone else, or you can claim that for yourself. So there's actually a lot of flexibility there. So I think that's the basic idea here. I love that DistroKid worries about and manages all this stuff so that you don't have to worry about it. You can go out and focus on creating, right, instead of worrying about all this management work. And I figured with the way the world is right now, people are hiding out, people are working remotely whenever possible. So I figured anything that helps you streamline your collaborations, any online tool, especially anything that helps you with remote collaborations, especially, I figured that would be a huge help to know about. So I figured some of you guys might want to hear about it in more detail. So I hope someone out there found this video helpful. And as always, please let me know what you think in the comments below. And I will be linking to DistroKid in the description of this video. So that link is going to be distrokid.com/VIP/Cato. And that is my personal promo link. So if you do use that link, it will be helping to support my channel. So if you do use that link, thank you so much for doing it. It's going to help me continue to create great content for you guys. And in addition to that, if you use the link, you will get a 7% discount off your first year membership at DistroKid. So other than that, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the stuff that people on YouTube love. I would really appreciate it. And I do have a Patreon. So it's patreon.com/CatoNoise. And my patrons do get access to additional content. So they get early release videos, additional content that I'm always adding to. I'm working on some giveaways. That's in the works. I chat with my patrons. I don't know what else, but basically if you want to check that out, please feel free to check it out. Patreon.com/CatoNoise. And I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thank you for watching. Okay. I'm so shot. So shot. I had a puppy in the house recently. That was pretty cool. She's one of the guide dogs for the blind in training that I help train and puppy sit and stuff. So that's been fun. Puppy, puppy, puppy. I stepped on this rubber mat the other day and it made the coolest sound. And it was like in a little, it was like an outdoor, there's a little overhang thing over it. And just the way it made this like, kind of snappy sound, and then the way that echoed in the space was so cool. I was just standing there like stomping on the rubber mat like an idiot, and I don't know, it was fun, but it was, I don't know, things happen when you get into sound design, I guess. Yeah.